Hi, I'm your host, Psychotic Mr. L, and welcome back to my channel. If you're joining us right now, we know that the games today that we're doing is Mafia: The Old Country. This is like the fourth or fifth one in the franchise, but it is a prequel technically to all the other ones as well. It goes back to the old days in the early 1900s in Italy and Sicily and stuff like that. Very, very good story. I really enjoyed this one. This one was very good. Definitely a huge upgrade from Mafia 3. But anyways, let's jump into the achievements. Now, there is 50 achievements. 2 of them are missable and 1 is glitchy. The 2 missable ones, well, one of them's a difficulty related one, so as long as you start your game on that difficulty, you won't miss it. And the other one that's missable has to do with a safe. And that one is really weird because there is a chapter select, there is a mission replay in the game, so technically nothing is missable except for that one. For some reason, if you reload your save or you even replay the mission or anything like that, that achievement won't unlock. If you somehow put yourself in a situation where you miss it, the only way to unlock it is to start a brand new game from the beginning, and you have to get all the way back up to like mission 3 or 4 if I remember correctly in order to unlock it. Now, as far as the glitchy achievement goes in the game, there's one glitchy achievement involving collectibles. There's one collectible that is glitchy. If you do it in a certain way and you try to collect it under a certain circumstance, then the collectible glitches out, and unfortunately the only way to fix it is to start a whole new game and get all of the collectibles over again. So I will go over in this video exactly which collectible that is and what causes it to be glitchy and what not to do to make sure you unlock everything perfectly. And I actually save that collectible till the very end. You'll see, we'll get there. Mafia: The Old Country, love the game, absolutely love it. So there's no reason to waste any time. Let's just get right to it. Let's jump in.
The first thing I do when starting up a new game is make sure that I change the difficulty over to hard difficulty because there is an achievement for it, and I really just don't feel like playing through the game twice. I think once is enough. In the beginning of the game, we start off in Sicilia in the year 1904. This is the prologue mission known as Tremore. In this prologue is when we get introduced to the protagonist of the game, Enzo. So the first thing that you learn right away about Enzo is that he's actually a miner, and he works with his friend Gaetano. They are both miners in this mine, and down here in the rubble of the mine, they hid some money in a box kind of thing. Why you'd hide it down here, I don't know, but this is what they did, and this is the first thing you do in the prologue. While down there, we then get introduced to this character, El Mero. Remember this butthole? He'll be important later. Right after Enzo and Gaetano leave the mines, they then discuss exactly what they're going to do with the money, and their plan is to pretty much go to America with it and start a brand new and better life. While discussing that, suddenly they're called back into the mines, even though they just finished their shift for the day. They're really tired and stuff like that. Unfortunately, there was an accident at the mines, and now they're missing workers, and they're pretty much, Enzo and Gaetano are pretty much forced to go. This is where we get introduced to Don Spadaro, the guy who owns the mines and is the Don of this region of Sicilia. El Moro is kind of like Don's right-hand man, and that's when he comes into play and he makes us go back into the mines in order to try to save the people or find the people that are trapped down there from the accident that had happened. Unfortunately, while down there though, the situation gets much worse and the mine ends up collapsing on itself all over the place, and of course Gaetano for some reason brought all of the money you guys had saved down there and ended up dropping it like an idiot. So he ends up going back to try to get it, and as you can imagine, it doesn't really work out too good for Gaetano, and he ends up just dying. As you can imagine, this obviously pissed off Enzo just having to watch his friend die, especially since they didn't even want to go into the mine to begin with. So he immediately goes to El Mero to rub it in his face and be like, yo bro, like, you're gonna get yours. So they have something actually pretty unique in this game that isn't really in the other Mafia games as well, which is knife fighting, and trust me, you do it a lot in this game, and I can say, honestly, that's so far the one thing about this game that I really didn't like was the knife fighting. I didn't like the concept of the whole countering and parrying and slashing back and dodging aspect of it. I mean, I give them a lot of credit for the uniqueness of it, but as far as a game mechanic that I wanted in this series, I didn't, and I really honestly didn't really appreciate it or like it. I mean, I appreciate it in the sense that it's new and creative, but it was just something in the game that I don't feel as though it needed, and I didn't really like. But at least I give them credit for doing something different and taking risks, so I will give them that. At the end of the knife fight, you end up slicing Elmaro's face, severely injuring him, kind of, and then the entire mine ends up exploding into a gigantic cluster of explosions because that's what was happening below the mine, because there was a gas leak which caused it to originally break in the first place. And then you take off on your own on the horse and run out of there, going into another territory and going to the opening credit title sequence of the game, and unlocking my very first achievement in the game for completing the prologue itself, which for some reason the achievement didn't pop up on the screen. Enzo escaped the mine. You can see the achievement unlocked. For some reason it just did not pop up on the screen. I do not know why. We then start chapter 1, Famiglia. Unfortunately though, in this new area, it's not long until Amaro finds us and promises to return the favor that we did to him with the little, face cut and stuff. This is when we get introduced to the Don of this area, Don Torrese. Pretty much he comes in with all of his guys and tells them, get the fuck out, or I'm gonna kill you. And, El Morero is like, well, he owes us money, and Don Torres is like, I don't give a fuck, get the hell out of my territory. So that's essentially all that happens here, and then Enzo just ends up staying with Don Torres in his area and just leaving with his men back to his villa, where we get a nice warm bed to sleep in, and the next morning we need another main character, Cesare, along with another important main character, Isabella, who happens to be the daughter of Don Torrese. We then return back to my little housing area where I sleep, and I find the first charm in the game. This is it right here, the little statue thing on the table. Now, essentially the charms are little perks that you equip onto your rosary. As you see, there's wooden ones, metal ones, and stuff like that. And I go in here and I equipped it to get my next achievement in the game. Unfortunately, it does the thing where it doesn't pop up on the screen again, but I promise you it is an achievement. Once again, here's the achievement for equipping a charm. Once again, not sure why it's not popping up on the screen. The chapter then comes to a close with a big party that Dawn is throwing for everybody at the villa. This is where you get a much better introduction to Luca. I mean, he was earlier in the game in those stalls from the beginning of chapter 1, but this is a much better introduction to him than we got before. This is also where we actually learn that Isabella is the Don's daughter. We don't actually learn that earlier, we learned that at this part, and Enzo's a little shocked by learning this information, like, whoa, I'm in love with the boss's girl, So this does close out the end of chapter 1 and gets me my next achievement for that as well, which unfortunately also is another achievement that for some reason doesn't pop up on the screen. I'm not sure why. Not sure why they kept doing it, but it's another one. I assure you it does unlock right after this. So there's the next achievement that did not unlock again, or unlocked, but it just didn't pop up. It's for completing, I'm assuming, chapter 1. Enzo found a new home. So that's the achievement right there. As you can see, I did unlock it. We then start chapter 2, Palio. The chapter pretty much begins with Enzo putting some wine into the carriage with Luca. They're discussing like a race and stuff, and that's actually going to be important later. That race will come into play very soon. But that's pretty much all that happens here, is how the chapter starts, talking about the race and putting some wine into the back of this carriage because it needs to be delivered to the city. Following chapter 2's story, you'll then get to Pasquale's shop. This is a very important area of the game. It's kind of like the little hub area in a way, like how typical games have like a hub area. Here you can upgrade your stuff, like your rosary. You can upgrade it so you can hold more charms on it, which thus gives you more perks. You can also buy weapons from here, ammo, cars, horses, different paints for the cars, different accessories for the horses and stuff like that. Now there is one collectible item here known as a mystery fox. There are 50 of these in the game. Now this one in particular right here that's in the basement of Pasquale's is glitchy, and it's glitchy because this one requires you to buy it for 5,000 denarii, which is the currency of the game. If you interact with this fox without having the 5,000 denarii in your inventory or in your possession, or however you want to say it, the fox can potentially glitch, and then you can no longer buy it, or when you do buy it, it won't count towards the 50. So make sure you just do not interact with this fox at all until you have that 5,000 denarii, and you just buy it right when you interact with it. After Pasquale's, we then get to the city where we were bringing the wine that the Don wanted us to bring. We get introduced to Tino here. I think we actually got introduced to him earlier, but I can't remember. But this is a better introduction for him anyways. Anyways, we get introduced to Tino, and we learn that the horse rider that they have for the race going on today is too drunk to race, and they're all pissed off about it. So Enzo, being the new guy, kind of volunteers to do the race for them, and everybody's kind of impressed because Luca kind of backs you up and says that you can ride horses pretty good. So then from the race, as you can see, it's just on horses with everybody else. It's just 2 laps around the map. I do wish that there was a mini map in this section to kind of see where you're going. There isn't, unfortunately, a mini map in this game at all, but it's okay. So eventually I do win the race by doing the 2 laps. So that makes the Don and Tino and everybody pretty excited that I won the race. The next thing he does is Don is like, hey, remember that wine that you brought with you all the way here? Well, I want you to go deliver it. So we end up going on a little adventure here with Isabella through the city, just delivering the wine door to door, until we run into this asshole, and the wine just pretty much immediately smashes onto the floor. This is when we have our first real knife fight of the game, and this is what I was talking about. Like, I don't know, just something about this part of the game I just do not enjoy, the knife fighting in it. It seems like the parry and the counter and the combat and the slashing just is not as accurate or as good as it could be. But anyways, this is the first real major knife fight you have in the game against an enemy. There was a practice one earlier, and there was one in the prologue as well. I don't really count both of them because both of them kind of end in weird ways. And so this is the real first official one that you have with Lumbra? I don't know how you pronounce his name. But anyways, eventually I do beat him. And just remember his face, because he will come back later, and he will be, he'll be a dirty little butthole when he does come back. Luca was a little upset at first, but then he was impressed because I was a true man and defended Isabella because she was a damsel in distress, while also destroying the wine in the process. But he's like, let's not tell the Don about this, and let's make sure Isabella doesn't mention it either, and we'll just keep it our little secret. This is also the end of Chapter 2, where I unlock my next achievement in the game for completing the Chapter 2. And once again, yes, it is another achievement that for some reason does not pop up on the screen. Not sure why. But I do promise you that this is right when you unlock it, right after this. So another achievement has unlocked, once again not popping up on the screen. This is for completing Chapter 3. But this is the achievement for completing Chapter 3. It did unlock, just did not pop up on the screen once again. We then start Chapter 3, Pizzu. Right at the beginning of Chapter 3, there is a little side objective you're going to get here that pops up. It's to go meet Isabella in the garden in private. You just kind of want to have a little private conversation with you here. Nothing too crazy. And then Tino shows up for a little bit, and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But I suggest going ahead and doing this right away because it actually, believe it or not, is an achievement, and I didn't even know it was an achievement when I got it. Hey, and guess what? This achievement actually pops up on the damn screen. Yeah. Now, continuing with the main story of the chapter, we're going to meet up with Cesare and Luca. Luca's pretty much going to try to fill us in on a little bit of stuff going on here without giving too much away, but essentially, he needs to go collect not bounties, but payments from stores and other people that, in return for paying the mob, are supposed to get protection. Sorry, Mafia, are supposed to get protection. So that's pretty much the whole point of this chapter right here, is we're just kind of gonna go out and do that and go to little places and get the, get the money that they owe us. Now, when following main path of getting the money, this is going to be the second place in the game that you get to. And as you can see, the main guy in the center, he's the owner of this little shop, and he hasn't been paying the money like he's supposed to. So in putting him at gunpoint, he's just kind of freaks out a little bit, and he's like, all right, I got the money. It's in the safe. It's in the next room. Go ahead and get it. Now, in that room is the safe, and this is the earliest in the game that you can actually find a safe. And as you can see, it's over there in the back right corner with a little yellow thingy on it. But anyways, this safe right here is the earliest in the game that you run into a safe, and you have to open it without picking up the note with the code on it first for an achievement. This is the only missable achievement in the game. Theoretically, it's missable because if you pick up the note before trying to open the safe, you can't get it on that safe, obviously, so you have to find another safe to open without having the note picked up. And let's say, hypothetically, you pick up all of the notes for all of the safes before opening them. You can't just reload a checkpoint or reload the chapter for some reason, because it'll count it as being in your inventory. So you theoretically have to start an entire playthrough all over again just in order to get this achievement for opening the safe. The combination for this one is 10, 20, 30, and opening it does get me my next achievement, which is the only missable achievement in the game. Now, continuing on with the story, in Chapter 3, you'll eventually run into Don Calente, another Don who runs a different district than Don Torrese does in this game, along with his associate Leo. They're sitting here playing chess. Essentially, they're going to talk to you about some liquor that's going on, and they'd like you to steal it. And, stealing it is what we're going to do, because that's the next thing that we're doing. Now, in the area where you steal the liquor, I find my very first mystery fox over here in the corner, right after I put this guy in this This chest right here, yeah. But as you can see, it's my corner, and I get the achievement for grabbing the very first one. Then right from that mystery box, I grab an item called a Trinakia. That's going to be right over here in the corner. Grabbing it unlocks my next achievement in the game. And also this is an item that you can go and sell for like 100 denarii at the shop. Then right after that achievement, me and Solece get to the liquor in order to steal it successfully. We then return to Leo and Don Calente like we promised that we would. Continuing on the story from there, we then run into the third guy in the game that's supposed to pay us money. We then learn that all of his shit was taken by a rival gang that's out in the, out in the mountainy area over here. So the three of us then set out in order to get all of his stuff back, so then thus we can get paid and also keep our end of the bargain up for, if they pay us, we kind of protect them and stuff. I then kill a couple of guys looking for the man's items before finding it in the house right behind all those guys in this wagon. Then after finding his possessions, we have another shootout with some more enemies. The chapter then ends with returning the man's items to him, but not before bamboozling him with getting more money out of him, because, we're the mob and stuff, so that's like what we do, I then locked my next achievement in the game for completing chapter 3. The game then skips forward a year to 1905 to chapter 4, Il Barone. So the mission pretty much starts off with the Baron coming with his son Gennaro. And Don Teresi kind of wants his daughter Isabella to have some alone time with his son, make the families bigger and all that stuff. So then Luca pretty much comes over and tells us that it's our job to get them to where they need to go. Cesare is going to take Gennaro in his car, and then I'm going to take Isabella on horseback to get over to some like ancient ruin type stuff for them to go on their exclusive date and stuff. Towards the end of our horseback ride with Isabella, she then teaches us about the camera mechanic in the game. This isn't really used too often throughout the main story, but there is a collectible associated with it, and you essentially just aim the camera at the thing that you have to take a photo of, and you have to, mess with the controls on it to get the camera photo to be less blurry until it stabilizes, and the circle in the center will turn yellow, and that's how you know you can take a photo of it. So this is just like a little tutorial thing on how to do it. This will come into play later in the video because there is an achievement for getting all the photos. Then we have a shootout with a few more guys because Isabella and the guy she's on a date with end up getting into some trouble. While in the middle of that shootout though, I get my next achievement in the game for getting 30 headshot kills. Okay. We then catch up to Isabella to see that she's being kidnapped by a man named Messina, this guy right here. He's just a crazy bastard. He's also kidnapping Gennaro, or the Baron's son. I can't pronounce his name, I'm sorry. But he's kidnapping him as well. We do chase after him in the car for a little bit, but then we end up being on horseback and killing and shooting some dudes and chasing them as well. This sequence actually goes on for a very long time, believe it or not. But when we finally do catch up to him, we jump into the thing. We end up saving Isabella here from Messina, but he ends up getting away with Gennaro. But all that matters is that, Isabella is saved. That's all that's important for now. Actually, it's not. So we actually decide to then go after Messina on our own in order to save Gennaro from Messina's camp area and return him to the Baron. So that's precisely what I do. I end up sneaking through the entire camp until we finally catch up Gennaro, and I end up freeing him before he's being captured. And then we end up fighting Messina in a one-on-one knife fight again. There's going to be a lot of these, like I said, in this game, and most of the time the chapters kind of end with them. It's really weird. But anyway, here's the one-on-one fight with Messina, and eventually we do end up killing him and saving Gennaro and getting away. I then return Gennaro to the villa, making the Don and the Baron very happy with everything that I've done after, sneaking through and killing a bunch of people. But that ends up closing out Chapter 4 and getting me my next achievement in the game. Then I immediately start Chapter 5, Vendetta d'Onore. Oh, okay. The chapter starts off with me and Isabella having a little bit of a meeting in the chapel for a couple of minutes, followed by getting my next achievement for getting 1 newspaper, and there is an achievement for getting all 50 of them as well. Well, for getting all the collectibles anyways, so the other 49 still count. Wave of Anarchy. Oh boy, I guess that's found the newspaper. Right. So moving on to the main story of the chapter, pretty much we have to meet up with Don Teresi, and pretty much he gives us a mission for the family. Pretty much this is kind of like an inauguration mission, kind of saying, hey, like, listen, I respect what you did for my daughter, so, you know, here's another mission for you to prove it a little bit more to me. I think you're almost there, you just need to budge or step in the right direction, and kind of then you'll be a part of this family. So that's essentially how it starts off, and the mission itself is to go after this guy and capture him alive for the Baron. Later that night, I then meet up with Tino in order to go over the mission specifics of exactly what he wants me to do. So pretty much he wants me to go in there and he wants me to capture the guy alive and bring him back to him. I then infiltrate into the guy's house, taking out guys stealthily along the way. There actually is an achievement to get to the guy without being seen by any of the guys around the area. So it's actually what I'm working on right now, and this is why I'm trying to stealthily get through it. In doing so, I'm very successful though at it, and I get to Girolamo without being seen, unlocking my next achievement in the game. See, I knew it was an achievement for some reason. I just had this feeling, man. So after catching up to him, I immediately knock him out, and then I drag away the body, to then get into a huge kind of gunfight that lasts for a while Girolamo is running away from me and I have to chase him. But eventually I do find him again, and I do immediately just knock him right out again. So from here, I then take his body, and I take him over to the Baron like I had promised at a beautiful sunset experience. And then this is when the mission comes into full play. Pretty much this is a test to prove my loyalty to the family, and he wants me to do my first official kill by killing Girolamo. Sorry, cannot pronounce that name. And killing him and proving my worth to the Baron. Well. Then back at the villa, Don Chorizo has us meet up with the entire Chorizo family. Pretty much this is inauguration night, and he wants us to go through everything that we need to officially join the family. He's proud of what we did with capturing the guy, killing him to prove our worth, and he kind of makes us go through a little ritual here with burning a card and saying a certain thing he wants us to say, and then we're officially a member of the Chorizo family. We then do a little bit of drunk driving. Cesare takes a drunk piss off the side of a bridge, and then we meet up with some ladies of the night. And then we finish the chapter out with getting introduced to our brand new apartment, which we can sleep in and stuff and change our clothes, and that's pretty much about it. But it's here. Here it is. I then get my next achievement in the game for finishing chapter 5. Yeah, okay. That's good. There's then another time jump to 1906 and into chapter 6, La Difesa Siciliana. So how the chapter starts off is with a meeting with Don Teresi and Don Calente. They essentially want to join forces, and they have a printing press machine in order to make counterfeit money. The only issue is that they don't have a good counterfeiter in order to actually make the money. So that's essentially what the mission is right now, is we need to go out and we need to go get that counterfeiter. So we have an informant of us show us where the counterfeiter is being held, and he's being held in a jail within the city. So we're going to have to come back at nighttime in order to save him. Enzo, Cesare, and Leo then go over the plans of exactly what they're going to do tonight in order to break out the counterfeiter. Then later that night, after sneaking my way through the entire area, I end up breaking the counterfeiter out of jail. His name is Giuseppe. But the only problem now is that Giuseppe isn't really much of a counterfeiter without his plates in order to make the counterfeit money. So that's the next mission we have to do, is go and get back his plates in order for him to actually be a successful counterfeiter for us. So continuing through the story, we eventually get to the safe that has the money pressing plates in it. The combination is 21962. In here will be the plates. But after opening the safe in order to retrieve the plates, an alarm will go off in the building, which will cause us to immediately have to run for it. Then towards the end of this area, we're going to run into somebody named Major DiMacchio, He is going to be, well, kind of our knife fight for the end of this mission. Yeah. There's always a knife fight at the end of most missions, so he's it. He's the chosen one for this mission. No, the fight is over. We actually ended up not really winning it. We almost actually lost it and got killed there. So your friends show up to save you, and then Enzo and his friends end up getting away. We then go back to our new apartment to find Isabella there, where she confesses her love for Enzo, and you confess her love for her. So that's the end of Chapter 6 and my next achievement in the game. We then start Chapter 7, Spirito, Sportivo. So essentially this entire chapter is about a giant car race, but not just the car race itself, fixing up the car that we have, being able to get in the race, and then physically entering the race and winning the race. So the first thing we do is we get the broken down car that was given to us from Empire Bay, which is over in America. As you can see, it's broken down. It's a piece of crap, and we have to go get it fixed. So we drop the car off over at Pasquale's in order to be fixed. He's a handy mechanic, so he'll get it done pretty much right away. The next step we do is we take a photograph of the racer in tomorrow's race, but we have to blackmail him in order to take his spot. So you kind of find him doing some freaky stuff with some girls over here, and we take a photo of that, and yeah, we can use that as blackmail in order to get into the race. So the next thing we have to do in the game is test out the car to see how fast it goes after it got fixed from Pasquale. It goes pretty damn fast, as you can see, and we have to race this train right here to test it. And there actually is an achievement for beating this train in this race. I don't know what happens if you lose the race against the train and don't get it. But it's quite easy. The car goes pretty fast, and if you're not going to make it, just reload your checkpoint. You'll be able to get it. But beating it is my next achievement in the game for beating it. Now, right after that race, I consider this to be a good point to unlock another achievement because the car is really fast. And don't worry, you do get this car after this mission anyways, which I didn't know at the time. But figuring this is probably the fastest car in the game, I decided to get it. It's for going 120 miles an hour for 15 seconds or more with one car, and that's the next achievement I unlock. Now it's officially race day. And I'm not going to lie to you, if anybody knows me, if you know me, anybody knows me very well, I do not like racing video games. I do not like racing in video games, especially games where it has nothing to do with racing, like Mafia. This is the second race of this game so far, and I remember Mafia 1 Remastered also had a racing segment in it, and it was just really rage-inducing in that one, because you had to win the race or whatever, and just rage-inducing. And yeah, so the race in this game is no different. It's just as annoying as any other race in a video game. It just seems like you can never really catch up to the other drivers. They're somehow always going faster than you, and there's just the turning is terrible and all that other kind of stuff. There actually is an achievement for this race also. You have to complete the race in under 8 minutes, which I will say is actually considered to me really easy to do, because it's just one huge lap around the map essentially, but it's actually very doable in under 8 minutes, because there's plenty of times where I messed up in this race. I crashed, I hit things. There's even one time when the car flipped over and I was still able to finish the race in under 8 minutes. And that's my next achievement in the game, is for finishing the race in under 8 minutes. So don't sweat it if you think it's going to be a pain. Honestly, I hate racing games, and I hate racing in video games, and I'm just terrible at it. And even with all the crashes and the flipping overs that I had, I was still able to do it. So yes, completing the race in under 8 minutes is my next achievement in the game. We then finish out the chapter by taking a photo with the boys and with the trophy. And then that's my next achievement in the game, is for finishing chapter 7. I then start Chapter 8, Disgrazia. Pretty much the chapter starts off with Tino showing up at your house and pretty much tells you that there's a traitor in your midst. Somebody kind of screwed you over, and because of it you ended up losing the plates that you need for the printing press for the counterfeit money. So he tells you to go out, find the other people, and make sure you help him get it back. Or at least kill the traitor. After Enzo catches up with Cesare, we then run into our old friend Major D'Amico. He's with the traitor in his car over here, and well, the traitor ends up being this guy. Lambra. Well, this guy that we fought earlier in the game. After making my way through the area, I end up killing a bunch of bad guys and getting my next achievement in the game for getting 20 kills with the Vendetta. Then Enzo and Cesare gets up to Lambra and confront him, but unfortunately he gets in the car and gets away. Pretty much right away we track down Lambra to this deserted house in the fog, and Cesare does what he does best and immediately just smashes him over the head and kills him. So they both take his body and put it in a car and light it on fire and pretty much try to make it look like he was drunk driving, got into a horrible wreck and died. And yeah, so that's what happens to that guy. That was his fate. The chapter then ends with kind of a Godfather kind of feel to it. The three Dons in the area get together for a meeting. It's actually a really cool scene, but it's Don Galante, Don Torrisi, and Don Spadero from the beginning of the game, along with his little sidekick douchebag there that Enzo ended up cutting in the face in the very beginning of the game. So essentially all that happens here is they talk about what the traitor did and how the traitor was from Spadero's territory. He ended up screwing Torrisi's territory and Galante's territory because they're working together on this printing press free counterfeit money thing. So they're really not happy with him, and they're pretty much just letting him know that they know what his district did and they're looking out after him and stuff like that, looking out for him. And pretty much they're just not going to take his shit anymore is what they're saying. But his right-hand man is still a little pissed off about his brother being dead and stuff like that, so he's not really happy about the situation. But pretty much this is just about Don Torrisi and Don Galante laying down the law to Don Spadero. That then finishes chapter 10 of the game and unlocks my next achievement for that. The story then jumps forward another year to 1907, and we start chapter 9, Industria. So the Baron shows up to have a meeting with Don Torrisi and pretty much tells him that his friend Lorenzetti, who is the founder or the guy who runs a warehouse factory in the city, has been going on strike, and all of his people have been on strike and they have not been doing their job. Apparently for Lorenzetti this is very weird, isn't something that he does, and Don Torrisi trusts him very much and actually knows that Lorenzetti is against strikes. So this is where the mission starts off, and it's your job as Enzo to go and investigate exactly why the strike is happening and to see what happened to Lorenzetti. After doing some investigating for Tino and then going around the city here, or the villa I mean, you go back to him to tell him the information, and he pretty much tells you like that's not good enough, kind of. Go and get more information from looking at the guy's actual factory, so then we go from there. While in the villa before I leave, I go over here to the horse stables in order to knock out a quick achievement. It's just for customizing your horse once, so that's the next achievement I get. And you start off with free stuff to customize it, so you don't have to spend money if you want to do it that way as well. Because that's exactly what I do, but that's my next achievement for customizing the horse. So the next thing I do is investigate Lorenzetti's house. I just kind of go there, investigate, look around, find some notes that kind of give away stuff that might be happening, not really too much. But right when leaving, I then run into this guy right here. He's pretty much a worker for the factory, and he told me that Lorenzetti is at his factory, in his office, and he's been locked up in there for a few days. And nobody seems to know why. He just sent everybody home, and that was pretty much the end of it. So while investigating the factory, there actually is an achievement here to get through it without being seen or caught. So that's what I'm trying to work on here, just be stealthy as possible while going through it. It's actually a really big, but actually kind of fun area to do it in. But that's your only objective, is just to get to the factory to where Lorenzetti is, and an achievement to get there without being noticed or without being seen. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I am successful with it. That is the very next achievement I unlock.
Still count as ranged?
You feel like you're shitting on a cactus? Now, when you find Lorenzetti, you'll find him in his office. He's all beat up. He's hurt. The reason why is because Elmir, from the beginning of the game, or Don Spirito's right-hand man that we see in a couple of times throughout the game, he was responsible for this. He made Lorenzetti go on strike and send all of his people home. Pretty much held him ransom and said that he was going to either hurt him or kill him or whatever if he doesn't follow the orders. So that's essentially what happened here and why he went on strike. And then unfortunately, Lorenzetti doesn't make it and he ends up passing away. So then when trying to leave the area, El Morro shows up. Kind of knew you were going to be there, so he shows up with a bunch of guys. He kind of tells you that, he was wishing that Don would be there and stuff like that, but he'll be happy with you being there because he kind of has that beef with you from the beginning of the game, so he'll be more than happy to see you die as well. So his guys end up just destroying the entire factory, lighting everything on fire in the hope that would, one, destroy the factory, but also kill you as well. And now we just have to escape from it. While escaping, I get my next achievement in the game for getting 20 kills with the Precision. The chapter then ends once again with another knife fight with this random guy right here. Just a basic Spadero henchman. I don't know, he's not important. Never saw him before, but anyways, every chapter needs a knife fight in this game, so this is the one you're getting for this one. The chapter then ends with Tino telling Don's Torrese everything that he had learned from Enzo, because Enzo made it back to the villa safe and sound after hearing everything from Lorenzetti himself. And as you can imagine, Don Teresa didn't take this too kindly. He looked at Lorenzetti like a friend, like a brother, and now he wants vengeance. He's angry, he's pissed. Understandable. I then get my next achievement in the game for completing Chapter 9. Then start Chapter 10, La Festa. The chapter starts off with the Don telling Enzo that there's a baptism going on at the church back in the city, and that his daughter Isabella's being kind of stubborn with who she wants to ride with, so he tells Enzo to drive her into the church because he's the only one that he can trust driving Isabella. So that's pretty much just all that happens. Isabella gets in your car, and then you guys take off towards the church. So we're just having a nice experience at the church with Luca's son's baptism, and then all of a sudden, this butthole shows up. And as you can imagine, it's not gonna go too good if you know that butthole's there. So immediately outside, we're taking a photo. Everything's acting normal. Luca's happy, he's proud that you're here and all that stuff. And then just all of a sudden, like, blam! Guy dies. So it ends up being at El Morro. The butthole is up in the tower sniping people from a distance. So our next job is to get up there and stop him. On the way there, though, sneaking by, unfortunately, Cesare gets shot in the leg.
Cesare, no!
Now, when you finally do catch up to El Morro in the tower, this is actually a very long and semi-epic sequence, I might say. So you fight him 3 times with the knife throughout this entire ordeal with him in the situation, and we'll see that going forward here a little bit. So when you first get to him in the tower, you have your first knife fight, and it's just a very typical run-of-the-mill knife fight in this game that you typically have. You just fight him and dodge, and fight him and dodge, and cut and slash. When you get him about halfway down his health, or a third of the way, and he'll then take off through the city. And you have to do a pretty lengthy, long chase through the city. I'm not going to lie, it's a pretty long one. I was actually surprised how long of a chase sequence it was until you catch up to him and you have yet another knife fight with him. Then that knife fight's the same thing. His health is, already missing 1/3 of it. As soon as you get rid of another third of his life, you do it pretty much all over again. You just start chasing him through the city again. Until you finally catch up to him. Once again, it's another really long running situation after him. But once you catch up to him, then he gets into a car and he ends up getting away. And you have to go through, you have to chase him on horseback. When you finally do catch up to him, though, you then have your third and final knife fight with him. And this is the final one. Trust me, believe me, it's the final one. And I was very happy it was, because like I said, I do not like these knife fights in the game. But anyways, as soon as the knife fight is over, he actually has you in a pretty serious situation here where Enzo's gonna lose. Like, this guy is gonna beat Enzo, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, blam! Luca comes, he saves the day, ends up killing that butthole El Morro, and you never have to deal or see that butthole ever again. That's the end of Chapter 10 and my next achievement in the game. Very short chapter also.
No.
I then start chapter 11, Mattanza. Now, starting in this chapter, the story actually really takes off really big. This is probably one of the best cutscenes in the game too, but essentially what happens is that Don Torrisi and Don Galante meet with the Baron, and they pretty much have a very deep conversation about how the Baron kind of thinks Don Torrisi really isn't handling his district very well, and it's being a little sloppy, and especially with everything going on between him and Don Spidaro in the other district. Essentially, he wants them to have a meeting and to, tie up loose ends, sit down, have a meeting, talk to each other, and work something out before there's any wars between the families. At first, Don Torrisi really doesn't want to do this, but realizing that it will be better for everybody involved, for him, for Don Galante, for the Baron, and for Don Torrisi's family himself, he eventually agrees to it. But yeah, this is one of the best cutscenes in the game, in my opinion. It's a very good cutscene, very intense, a lot of emotion here, and you just know the tension between what the Baron is saying and what is actually happening is very, not really what Don Torrisi wants. But yeah, that's where it goes. So the next step is that meeting between him and Don Spidaro. Then on the day of the meeting, which I suppose is a couple of days later, Enzo and Isabella end up showing love for each other once again, and Isabella kind of asks him not to go. She has a bad feeling about what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And she's kind of like, there's something I need to tell you, but you know what, go ahead and go, and I'll just tell you when you get back, kind of foreshadowing something. So now it's the night of the meeting between Don Torrisi, Don Galante, Don Spidaro, and the Baron. And once again, this is a very awesome cutscene in this game. It's a great cutscene. Reminds me a lot of something like out of The Godfather, just the tension between all the families, the dialogue, the talking, what they're talking about. But essentially, how this cutscene plays out is not at all what Don Torrisi or Don Galante were told. Apparently, the Baron and Don Spidaro are teaming up, and they're here to really bamboozle Don Torrisi and to get him out of his territory. This is his one and only opportunity to take the offer of being bought out, letting go of the family, letting go of his vineyard, and just kind of taking off with the money and getting out of here. And of course, Don Torrisi, being the man that he is, obviously is not going to accept this offer. So all of a sudden, Don Spidaro and the Baron turn on both of them and just start shooting. And unfortunately, Don Galante is shot right away and killed. And then from there on out, they're just trying to withstand from all of the shooting. And then unfortunately, also right away, Luca gets shot right in the stomach. So from here on out, it just becomes a mission of survival and trying to get everybody out of there in order to survive. While fighting my way out of the area, I get my next achievement in the game for getting 20 kills with the Modelo C96. We then get everybody into the back of a truck and are able to escape while driving, while being followed by a bunch of enemies in cars. There's actually another achievement here that's story related for this specific mission, this specific chapter, however you want to say it. But it's to kill 10 cars or take out 10 cars while during this chase sequence. I found the easiest way is to just shoot the driver right in the head. Obviously, the car crashes automatically after that. But even on hard difficulty with no auto aim assist, for some reason it's always going to try to lock on to the person that's in the passenger seat. So you have to kind of fight with it a little bit to get to the driver. But just one shot to the head on the driver will kill him, or just 2 shots in general if it does the hit regulator that just says it got hit. But honestly, this achievement was very easy, and I honestly don't even think I did 10. I think I only did like 8 or 7 or something, and it's still unlocked. So I don't know if it's a little glitchy in that department, but very easy. And this is on the hard difficulty, like I said, without the aim auto assist thing. So if you're on an easier difficulty, like easy, you can probably just immediately auto lock onto every driver's head and just shoot all of them to take them out. But yes, during this sequence, killing 10 of these cars or taking 10 of them out is my next achievement in the game. So the chapter ends with us getting to a bar with Luca, and unfortunately, yeah, the chapter ends with Luca passing away and not making it, but not before telling us to get out while we still can. You can kind of actually see it in his eyes. I guess he has a lot of regrets about joining this family and doing the things that he's done, and he feels like Enzo has enough time to get out while he still can. before he suffers the same fate as Luca did. So that closes out chapter 11 and my next achievement in the game for, finishing chapter 11. So now this next section right here really isn't the next chapter. It's not chapter 12 or anything like that. It's just kind of a series of video sequences, but while also doing a little bit of playing. I guess you can kind of run around the map if you wanted to at this point. I don't know. Didn't really try. Maybe you can. But essentially all that's going to happen here is in between chapters 11 and 12. The first thing that's going to happen is Enzo's going to be woken up and he's going to need to have a meeting with Don Terese, who wants to see him for a private one-on-one back at the villa. So pretty much we have the private meeting at the bottom of the villa or in the basement of the villa and where Luca's body is. And obviously Don Terese is very hurt. He feels like he's lost a son, a family member, a brother, a friend. Luca is very loyal to him and he's very, very hurt by this. And he's also hurt by the fact that Don Spirito and the Baron would, turn their backs on him as well because he trusted them and he felt like he was part of their clique and they trusted him. And so it's a lot of betrayal going on here. And Enzo feels the same way. He feels like he's let down Luca and his family and his wife. So Don, Teresi, and Enzo ends up having their one-on-one conversation. And essentially the Don has a connection that lets him know where the Baron and where Don Spirito is, and where they're going to be having their next meeting in private, which is going to be at an opera house. So he pretty much tells Enzo, listen, you're the only one I can trust that can handle this in the family, and I'm not going to tell you any limitations or anything along those lines. I want you to handle it how you feel as though it needs to be handled. So that's essentially letting you know what the real chapter 12 is going to be, is that we are going to go down that path of hunting down Don Spirito and the Baron and just taking care of business and doing what we have to do, especially since Enzo really feels like he failed Luca, and especially after Luca had saved his life from getting choked out from El Mero in chapter 11, or chapter 10, I mean. And so that's essentially where this story is going for chapter 12. But before we leave, in order to continue that mission of getting revenge for Luca, that's when Isabella has a one-on-one with Enzo as well and confesses to him that she is in fact pregnant and doesn't want him to continue going down this path or doing what he needs to be doing or what she feels as though he thinks he needs to be doing or whatever. Either way, she does not want him to go. She confesses she's pregnant and she's ready to do this family, and she doesn't think that he's the man that he used to be or would have been in this situation. And Enzo kind of feels like he's between a rock and a hard place, like, oh no, like I want to be here for her, I love her, I want to be here for my kid, but I also need to do this because I need to make it right for Luca, especially since Luca kind of saved his life. He owes him one in a way, and he feels like he needs to repay that. So he does not listen to Isabella here. He's like, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm sorry, I have to do it. It's something I have to do. But we will talk about this later, and we will work on it later when I get back. Now, this is when we start the actual chapters 12, La Forza del Destino. Now, essentially, this whole area takes place in a private little owned map that you can't actually look at or see. It's in its own little closed-off, little open-world, sandboxy kind of area. But essentially here you're going to meet up with Don Terese's person that he had on the inside that knew about the meeting. And it ends up being a priest that used to be a former family member that Don Terese let go in order to pursue this life of being a priest. Which I think is really interesting. Don Terese was like, well, you're going to leave the family, but you're leaving it to become a priest, so I'm not really going to try to stop you, you know? But the priest is the informant that lets Don Terese know about this meeting, and he's the one that's going to help you get into the opera house. So the priest shows us an underground path through the sewers that most people don't know about. He says that a lot of illegal activities and stuff go down here, and only real criminals know about it. He learned about it long ago, and he said there'll be nobody down here that really knows about it, but this leads directly to the opera house. So he ends up taking us to a ladder, and there is a stealth section down here. I ended up killing a bunch of people down here, but that doesn't really matter. It's not important. But there is a ladder here, and this will take you directly into the opera house, where the Baron and Don Spirito will be. So after a pretty lengthy, stealthy section in the opera house, where you can't actually kill anybody, you just have to sneak by everybody, you eventually do find the Baron. He's on a balcony watching the opera from across from him. So you give him some words, let him know this is for Luca, stuff like that. And yep, he ends up just killing the Baron. Enzo took it fully into his own control and said, yeah, I'm not letting you live after you fucked us over. You screwed the family, you got Luca killed, blah, 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 blah. And up to this point, he's been remained quite stealthy, you know. But unfortunately, right as you're doing it, Don Spradero over here walks in on it and witnesses you doing it. So you finish off the Baron, and his body flops onto the people below. And Don Spradero takes off, and now your mission is to catch up to him before he gets away in order to take him out as well, while all the people in the Opera House are freaking out. Now, there is a really intense gunfighting sequence while you're trying to chase Don Spradero through the Opera House, but on the way there, I get my next achievement in the game for getting 20 kills with the pump-action shotgun. Now, in chasing Don Spradero, he eventually goes into the sewers from which Enzo had come from, and there's a bunch of guys down here as well. And while down here, this is where I got my next achievement in the game for getting 20 kills with the Lupera. But we eventually do catch up to Don Spradero in the sewers, and we end up having our one knife fight quota for the chapter, since there tends to be, well, at least one knife fight in each chapter, so I guess there's a quota of one. Everybody gets one. So we end up having the knife fight with him, and it's the same thing as every other knife fight in this game. There's really nothing different to it. Parry, attack, dodge, parry, attack, dodge, parry, attack, dodge, you know, same crap over and over again. But eventually I do kill him, and that's the end of Don Spradero. Then right after, we return to the villa to talk to Don Teresi and give him Don Spradero's ring that we had taken from his body after killing him. This makes Don Teresi very happy. He's incredibly happy with what Enzo has done here. He's very proud of him. He's just happy about it. Trust me, he's very happy. He looks more at Enzo like a son now and like a very loyal member of this family, and is very pleased with it. Unfortunately, he still doesn't know about him, you know, having sex with his daughter and impregnating her and stuff, so I'm sure, you know, that's probably going to come into play soon, you know? Wink, wink. But while being here, we also learned that he already buried Luca while we were gone, and he tells us to pretty much go pay our respect to him while, you know, we're here. So that's exactly what we do, is we go to his grave right away to pay our respects. And pretty much Enzo has a little one-on-one of his own with Luca here, and pretty much tells him that this is it. He will find a way out of the family in honor of what Luca's last words were, because he knows Isabella is pregnant, and he wants to focus on that and being with his kid and possibly taking Isabella over to Empire Bay over in America. He doesn't say Empire Bay, I'm just assuming, because he does say America, and obviously the other Mafia games take place like in Empire Bay, so it's probably where he's going to go. But Isabella does show up here, and she overhears the conversation, and from here on out you can tell there's like a little bond between them, that like this is the plan going forward. Enzo's kind of done with it now. He did what he needed. Isabella's aware of it. She's happy about it. And their plan is to now just take the baby and go to America. I then get my next achievement in the game for finishing Chapter 12. We then start Chapter 13, Capiregime. So the chapter starts off with you needing to meet up with Don Teresi in his private house over here, and he is just beating the shit out of somebody. I mean, he is just beating the crap out of him, man. As you can see, the pool of blood below the guy as he's sitting in a chair. He's just beating the shit out of him, dude. He's pissed off about everything that's happened still, even though he won, so it's kind of weird. But essentially all that happens in this scene is that Don Teresi tells you that now, since Don Spradero and the Baron are dead, he now has the other districts, especially the mines from the beginning of the game, which there's a lot of money in those mines. And now, because he fully trusts you, he considers you kind of like a son, like a brother, you know, part of the family, and you have his respect and his gratitude and everything. He tells you that he wants you to be in charge of the mines. He wants you to run them fully, and this way you become very rich. And that's part of the debt that he thinks that he owes you in this predicament for you. So it's a really good position, and it's a lot of responsibility that Don Teresi is trusting Enzo with. But unfortunately, we know that, you know, Enzo kind of has other plans with his daughter and with his family that's on the way, his kid, and so, you know, but yes, that's essentially all that's happens here. He tells him he has the mines and he wants Enzo to run them for him. But before that, we have one mission left to do, which is to take out the remaining guys of the Don Sperado's gang. So we sit here and talk to Cesare, and there's 3 more guys that need to be taken out. At the moment, we're making a plan. We're going to split up. I'm going to take out one. He's going to take out the other. And then we're going to take out the last one together. So that's officially really the story going forward for this chapter. We then quickly talk to Isabella and pretty much let her know that everything is going forward with our plan to leave together, start a new life over in Empire Bay, and that it will be over soon. But Enzo just has to finish this one last thing for Don Teresi, and then get out of here without alarming anybody of anything that's going on. Now, the first of 3 guys that you have to kill, his name is Mazzioni. He's going to be in this foresty area here, and there's a bunch of his guys that are running around. You have to get through this area stealthily without alerting any of his guys, and without alerting him in order to get an achievement for killing him without anybody being alerted. And while working on getting through the area stealthy, I get my next achievement in the game for getting 20 knife takedowns.
Okay, so I guess that is an achievement.
And then immediately right after that, I kill Mazzoni to get that achievement as well for taking him out stealthily without alerting him or anybody else. I then catch up with Cesare trying to help him take out the guy he was supposed to take out, but he's having a lot more problems with it than I was. So I sit here and help him kill a bunch of guys until that guy ends up getting away in his car. And then unfortunately, you have to chase him. It's a pretty long chase sequence. It's pretty long, and he goes really, really fast. It's kind of hard to catch up to him until we get to this area where he's at the docks and he's with a bunch of other guys. And this is where I unlock my next achievement in the game for getting 20 kills with the repeater.
Yeah, there we go.
Followed by immediately getting the achievement for 10 kills with explosives.
Yeah.
Then I kill the second guy that Cesare was supposed to kill. Now me and Cesare go after the third guy that's left over. He's located over on that church that's all the way up on the hill over there. But before getting to him, I do unlock my next achievement in the game, which is for using all 3 of the different types of knives 5 times with their unique ability. One of them is for throwing knives, so essentially just getting 5 kills with throwing knives. The other one is like a machete kind of blade, where the unique ability with that is just getting 5 kills by takedowns with it in combat. So by just running up to enemies and just kind of stabbing them in the body, you know, in the neck, head, chest, anything that's lethal. And the other one's a knife that when breaking open crates with money in it, you get more money. So just by doing each of those things 5 times unlocks me my next achievement in the game. The last one I was holding out on was doing the 5 takedowns, but doing the 5th and final takedown is the one that I unlock. Then when getting to the third guy at the top of the church, he's going to be outside in front of the door like this, holding his hands up. He's completely unarmed. He completely can't fight back or anything like that. It is an achievement here to not kill him when Tino's telling you to. Pretty much just let Cesare do it, and that's the achievement.
There's an achievement to not shoot him.
Then in the final cutscene of the chapter, you talk with Leo at the bar, and he ends up giving you tickets to Empire Bay for both you and Isabella. This is when you realize that Leo is helping you. He is the person that you, is helping you to get out of there, and he kind of agrees with you to get out of there and just start a new life with Isabella, and he's all for it. And then this guy right here, the bartender, you're supposed to reach out to his family once you get to Empire Bay and just start a fresh new life. So yes, that's essentially all that happens in this final, cutscene of this chapter. Then with the finish of this chapter, I then unlock my next achievement in the game for completing chapter 13. We then start the final chapter of the game, chapter 14, La Merica. I will say that this chapter is phenomenal, it is epic, it is good, and a lot of stuff happens, so let's just kind of jump right into that. Today is the day, and Enzo ends up picking up Isabella so that they can finally leave together and go to Empire Bay to start their new lives with their family and their kids because they're madly in love. So Isabella and Enzo ends up getting to the train station in order to begin this journey. But unfortunately, Tino shows up, and he shows up with all of Don Teresi's guys. And somehow Don Teresi knows, somehow he figured it out. I'm actually a little bit not clear on exactly how he figured it out. But anyways, Don Teresi figured it out. Cesare's there, he's disappointed in you. Tino's pissed off at you, but he kind of didn't like you the entire time anyway, so he's not really surprised. And unfortunately, yeah, Enzo and Isabella are caught in their situation, and so now the Don wants to see Enzo. And this is where the game comes full circle. We're getting close to the end here, and Don Teresi wants to see you exactly where the game started, where your life started, back at the mines. And as you can see, this volcano is kind of erupting over there. Well, I'm just letting you know that that's been there the entire game. It has. I just haven't really showed it earlier in any of the footage or anything like that, but it does come into play very shortly here. So then you finally come face to face with Don Teresi, and as you can imagine, he's not really too happy about everything he found out about you and his daughter Isabella. He really doesn't like the fact that you were sleeping with her, and he really doesn't like the fact that you got her pregnant either. He kind of considers you to be scum, the lowest of the lows because you came from the mines. Even though you're part of the family and he promoted you up and he was giving you charge of the mines, he still looked at you like you were nothing more than just a poor guy that was working out of the mines. And if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be anything more than what you are right now, which in a way is kind of true. But from here, the volcano finally explodes. And then you go outside with Cesare through the window, and down there you end up having a little knife fight with Cesare. I know it's normally one knife fight quota per chapter, but this chapter is gonna have a couple of them. But in the end, Enzo does end up defeating Cesare in the knife fight, and Cesare kind of just begs for him to finish it, kill him. And Enzo's just kind of like, nah, man, like, you're my friend. I'm not doing it. That's not who I am. He still loves him. He still cares about him. He looks at him kind of like a brother. So he just kind of leaves him there in his own wounds and walks away. Now, eventually through the chapter, after fighting your way through a whole bunch of guys, you'll eventually end up back in the mines, where you'll also fight some guys down there as well. A little bit more stealthy as well down here, knifing guys, and because you kind of start off with nothing at the beginning of this chapter. But anyways, while getting your way through the mines, towards the end, you eventually run into Don Teresi again, who's down here, and he ends up just kind of beating the hell out of you. Choking you, beating the shit out of you, threatening you, still pissed off about you banging his daughter, stuff like that. Then you eventually throw this thing at him because there's gas leaking, and it causes a huge explosion, which covers Don Teresi in rocks, and then Enzo ends up getting out of the mine safe and sound. Or so you think, because immediately right after that, the man of the hour shows up, Don Teresi again. Once again for another confrontation where he's mad about you banging his daughter. Man, he took it really, really, really hard in this game about you banging his daughter for some reason. Not like they were consenting adults or anything like that, but Anyway, so then again, right here with Don Teresi, you have your quota for your one-on-one boss fight towards the end of a chapter, and he ends up being Don Teresi as the final boss in the game. There is an achievement here to defeat him without getting hit. Unfortunately, I was spoiled for this before getting to the end of the game, so I kind of knew it was coming. I just didn't know it was going to be exactly at the end of the game. But I did know that you do have to fight him in a knife fight because there is an achievement for defeating him without getting hit. It's actually a lot harder than it looks. It took me quite a few tries. For some reason, he's very quick. He does a lot of moves that you can't actually counter. You can only dodge, and you have to hope to God to be able to hit him on the way back. There's actually some times, too, where for some reason it would still hit me even though I was dodging. And if you notice the knife fights in this game, it seems like as you do damage to the enemies, the zone of fighting seems to get a little smaller with like an invisible wall. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but I noticed it really bad, especially during this fight. It seems like as you do damage to Don Teresi and you get his life bar smaller, the area gets an invisible wall around you too, because every time I would try to back up, I would be hitting something and I couldn't back up fully. and then I would end up getting hit by Don Teresi. And it's happened especially a lot when Don Teresi was at very, very, very low life in the last third of his life. But the good news here is that if every time you do get him down a third of the way, there is a checkpoint in between his life. So if you get hit like on the last third of his life, you just reload checkpoint, you'll be back at the last third of it. So the achievement isn't that bad in that sense. You just have to essentially get past the third of his lives every time without getting hit to get a checkpoint kind of thing. So the achievement's not really that bad, but with the invisible wall surrounding you, it just seemed really bad to me. But anyways, yes, after defeating him, that is my next achievement in the game, for defeating him without getting hit. So then it finally happens, and Enzo defeats Don Teresi by stabbing him in the stomach. And as Don Teresi lays there staring at Enzo, he just talks to him and pretty much tells him about how Enzo will always be what he is. He'll always be somebody that came from the mines, and there's nothing he can really ever do to change that, no matter what he does or no matter what he tries to do. He'll always just be, in his eyes, some poor person that came from the mines, and there's nothing that can change that for Enzo. Then Don Teresi finally kills over and dies. Enzo then looks over to see that Cesare is still in the area and watched everything that just went down with Don Teresi. Cesare's just kind of like, all right, you know, you're right, you spared me, and you're like a brother to me too, man. So let's do this together, like we said we would in the beginning of the game when we first met. We'd stick it out until the end, like brothers, you know. And that's what Cesare's pretty much here to tell him. You know, pretty much here to say. And Enzo's just kind of happy because he's finally relieved that his brother that he's looked at this entire time has been here for him, been helping him. And, you know, he's sorry for everything that went down, you know. But then, you know, all of a sudden Cesare's like, yeah, that really isn't what I wanted to say. So, you know, stab. So Cesare betrays Enzo. And unfortunately, this is where Enzo's story comes to an end. Enzo just kind of bleeds out and dies back at the mines where his story started, where his story's ending. And in some sick way, Don Teresi was right. He never amounted to nothing more than somebody from the mines, kind of, you know. He started off here and it ended here, and he never really got to experience anything else in the world other than that. His life started and ended here. It's really sad, to be honest. But the story really isn't just over yet. We still have Isabella to deal with. So Isabella is back at the villa. She's with Tino, and Tino's watching over her until Don Teresi gets back, which, you know, now we know will never really happen. But Don's plan was to pretty much have the baby taken care of, if you know what I mean. And Tino's supposed to be sitting there watching her, making sure she doesn't do anything stupid or get away. So from here on out, we will be playing as Isabella. And the first thing she immediately does is get away. Now, this ending part of the game is mostly just stealthy. Isabella doesn't really have, you know, weapons or anything like that. You do go through a short period underneath the house in the wine cellar for a little bit, and she unfortunately does kill somebody down there. It's her first kill in the game, or ever in her life, or whatever. Kind of changes you when that happens, but you kind of go through just like the stealthy areas of the game as Isabella. Until you get to the final area of the game where you have a confrontation with Tino. So now Tino and Isabella kind of have their own one-on-one kind of boss fight in the game. Pretty much how this boss fight works is exactly like how it did in the first Last of Us game when you fight that creepy guy in the cabin that's lit on fire. Essentially, it's almost the exact same fight. Like, the entire area is lit on fire, it's smoky, creepy guy, you know, gotta kind of sneak up behind him and just stab him and stuff like that. You just have to do this 3 times with Tino, and then he will be defeated. Then as Isabella is finally getting away, Cesare shows back up to the villa. He's still all, you know, just right after killing Enzo. You can kind of see a little bit of, like, remorse or regret in his eyes, maybe. I don't really know. It's hard to tell at this point. Cesare is kind of just, I think, broken. But he gives Isabella the tickets that Enzo had on him to go to Empire Bay. He kind of gives it to him, and this kind of lets her know that Enzo didn't make it, and now she's kind of on her own. She doesn't know that Cesare is the one that killed him, or I mean, maybe she does, but she doesn't, she doesn't really mention it or say anything. But anyways, so she takes the ticket, realizing that now she's on her own, but everything here is destroyed, so there's nowhere else to go except to Empire Bay. So that's what she does. Isabella gets on the boat, she goes to Empire Bay, and that's the end of the game.
Empire Bay.
Which then unlocks me my next 3 achievements in the game. My first one being for beating the game on the hardest difficulty, the second one being for beating the 14th chapter in the game, and the third one being for just beating the game in general, which you would get on any difficulty.
Oh.
So the first thing I do is buy all of the cars in the game, unlocking my next achievement for that, buying all cars in the game. The next achievement I go for is to modify a car at least once. You would think this achievement would actually be quite simple, just go to the shop, buy something to modify it, like a paint job or something. But it's actually a little bit more complicated. I don't know why. As you can see, like looking at the car, I can go over and I can see the paint jobs, and they're $1,000 each. But for some reason, I cannot buy them, and I could not figure out why. And I went to multiple shops to try to see maybe there was a glitch going on at the shop. So for a split second, I thought this achievement was like glitched or something was wrong with it. But no, there's actually something else you have to do in order to be able to buy the modifications. And you really don't buy them, which makes it even weirder. So I don't even understand why the price tag is next to them. I don't know if that's just a weird thing that they did. But yeah, for some reason, that's not what you do at all. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go over to this spot on the map with the little $sign. You're going to want to fast travel there, which fast travel you have unlocked when you do free roam. So you're going to want to fast travel there, and when you go there, you're going to want to run down into the basement, run over into the back left corner of the area. We have been in this basement before earlier in the story. This is like the shop area, but run into the back left corner of this area, and you're going to see this wheel here. So for a second, I thought you had to interact with that, but it's the same thing. You can't buy any of the modifications, so I'm just kind of like, what the hell? I just don't understand, like, why is this more complicated than it needs to be to modify a vehicle? I don't know. But I did look it up, and a lot of other people were just as stumped as I was, so that's how I ended up finding out the answer. Right next to that, as you can see, are these paint cans. So you have to grab those. Now you can go back and actually use a modification on a car. Don't know why you couldn't do it before, but now you can. So that's what my next achievement in the game is for using a modification on the car, and that is the only way to unlock the modifications, and you don't have to spend the money to do it. Once again, not really understanding why the $1,000 price tag is next to it. Is if all you have to do is grab those paint cans. But I go ahead, and you can't do it in there as well. You have to do it in the actual garage, even though you can look at the paint cans or the paint colors from there. Just very weird. So I run outside, I go to the first card, and just immediately change it once, and then back out to get my next achievement for modifying a car.
Feels like that took longer than it was supposed to.
The next achievement I get in the game is for restarting a car using the crank. You can only get this in free roam. You can't get it in the campaign at all. But essentially what you do is you take the car, you just keep smashing it into a wall over and over and over again until it gets really damaged. You'll see the engine light on fire and the car won't be able to drive anymore. Only then can you actually restart it with the crank. So restarting this car with the crank is my next achievement in the game. Now, from where my crosshair is on the map, as you can see that the top left of it, there's a $sign. That's another Pasquale's shop, also known as Pasquale's gas station. You're going to want to teleport there using fast travel, and from there you're going to want to select the car, the Corzella Mark II. This is probably the fastest car in the game. The achievement I'm going for with it is to at least do a jump of 40 meters while in a car. This is the only spot that I can apparently find online. I couldn't find any other spots trying to do this legitly. But from here, go to the garage, pick the Corzella Mark II, and you're just going to want to follow the path that I take. following the railroad tracks. Make sure you go as fast as possible without really hitting anything to throw off your momentum, and hit the ramp. You're going to go up and over the bridge. Now, this achievement took like an extra 15 seconds or so to unlock, so it might just have some sort of delay on it, but trust me, this is the best and certified way to unlock it. Now, for the next achievement that I'm going to be unlocking, I missed an achievement that was in Chapter 13. So in Chapter 13, if you remember correctly, you have to kill 3 guys. And the second guy, you do a really long car chase with him in order to catch up to him and then kill him over at like the pier area or the dock area or whatever it is. There's actually an achievement to kill him before he can take off with the car, essentially. And the only way to really do this is when you get to him, just start blowing up his car. Just start chucking grenades at it until the car is blown up. He won't be able to leave the area because the car is blown up. So thus you just kind of kill him in this area, and doing that is my next achievement in the game. So after that, that only leaves me with 2 more achievements left in the game, and both of them are related to collectibles. Okay, this is it. This should be the last collectible in the game. If you remember from earlier in the video, I talked about this specific fox right here that's in Pasquale's shop in the basement. You need to have 5,000 in your inventory, which right now I have 3753 plus 17 of the other item. So I'm going to go sell them real quick. That's going to bump me up to 54.53 in the corner, as you see. 54.53 in the corner. As you can see, actually my thing is blocking it a little bit. Here, wait, I'll move it real quick. If I lift myself up here, as you can see, I have 49 out of 50 wolves in the bottom left corner right here, if you see it, and 54.53 in money for the game. So I have enough just to buy it. Like I said earlier in the video, this is one of those achievements that is not achievements, but collectibles, this fox right here, that is glitchy. If you try to interact with it when you don't have 5,000 or more in your wallet, it potentially could glitch out. It apparently isn't guaranteed for everybody, but it has happened to enough people to where they recommend you just have the 5,000 or more when you get it, and when you collect it, that's the best way to go about doing it to make sure that you get the achievement. I just saved it for last also, since I knew it was a guaranteed spot where it was, and I knew probably after getting all the other collectibles I'd have around 5,000. So let's go over those collectibles. There are 4 different collectibles in the game. For the collections, you're going to have the photographs, which there are 23 of them. As you can see, I have all 23 total found. The next one is the Saints cards, which there are 20 of those. As you can see, I have 20 found. And the next one after that is the newspapers, which you can see I have 50 found, and that's 50. So there's 23 photographs, 20 Saints cards, and 50 newspapers, and 50 foxes. The 2 last achievements I am missing in the game is for completing the collection, which is getting all the collectibles in the game, and the one for getting all foxes in the game. So even though they're not there in the collection tab, they do count towards the collection. Just for some reason, they're not in the collection tab. So this is the last fox that I need. I have 49 out of the 50, so this should be my last 2 achievements right here. Getting this fox should unlock the last 2 achievements.
What's this?
What does it look like? Cleared it out from a widower's villa. Amazing what those with more money than sense have in their homes.
Okay, I got nervous there for a hot second. I was like, Alright, that game is officially done. Yeah. And that's it. That's all the achievements in Mafia of the Old Country and my journey on how I unlocked them. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Please support the channel. Please give me a like. Please give me a subscribe. You can follow me over on Twitch. I'm always streaming. When I stream live on there on YouTube at the same time. So you can always join in and talk to me as well if you want. Now, the game, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I highly, highly recommend it to everybody. It's a great game all around. It's a great story. It's great characters. It's a lot of fun. Great achievement list as well. And the achievement list doesn't take that long. It only takes around 20 hours to complete. So if you're looking for a fun little game to complete in no time, absolutely, Mafia of the Old Country is the game to choose from. Now, funny enough, when I was making this video and I was editing it and everything, I had just finished editing this video. And like literally the next day, they added new achievements to the game from a game update. And for like the next 2 weeks, I debated, should I just play the game, get those achievements and add them onto this video, or should I move on and play other stuff? Ultimately, I moved on, I played other stuff. It's because the achievements that they added to me were a little bit more for the time-consuming sake rather than the actual enjoyment of the game's sake. And what I mean by that is they added one achievement for playing the entire game again from start to finish the story on classic difficulty. Now, I do like a challenge. The difficulty isn't what really maybe not do it. It's more like the time. The story does take about 12 to 15 hours, which would take roughly about 4 or 5 of my streams to do. And I just didn't want to dedicate that time to playing the story again just to unlock that one achievement. And that's one of like 6 new achievements. The other 5 achievements all have to do with medals and all these challenges that they added in free roam. And you have to get bronze, silver, or gold medals on them. And it all had to do with medals and unlocking the gold medals for all the challenges and stuff like that. And then apparently some of them are glitchy and unobtainable too, apparently. I don't know. And I don't know if they're ever going to fix them. So rather than stressing myself out, rather than adding them onto this video, I just didn't do them. And that's that. Thank you once more. Thank you for watching. Please give me that subscribe. I will see you next time. I'm your host, Psychotic Mr. L. And that next video is coming soon. Hi guys, so yes, thank you for watching this video you just watched. If you liked it, if it helped you in any way or whatever, I got these 2 other ones right over here that you can also watch as well, wherever they may be somewhere on the screen. But yes, thank you for watching, and if you liked what you saw, absolutely watch these videos as well. Thank you. Bye.